Morning, Sunday, January 26th, 2025. I'm Larissa. It's my video diary. Time has come and gone for drinking from skulls. I have completed chugging my skull. I didn't chug it, but I did drink it pretty fast because it was kind of cool by the time I drank it. It was room temperature, so in order to get like the benefit of the heated herb, I had to chug somewhat, you know. Time for coffee now. Yeah. So yesterday, 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 I was working on this yardage with this, upcycling scraps. Oh my God. It looks so cool. It does. It looks really, really good. And it's not quite done. I'm almost done. I'm almost done with it. Putting it together. I'm almost done putting this yardage together. It looks like a painting. It does. It's kind of cool. I'm going to use it though. I'm not going to just leave it as a wall piece. It would make a cool quilt though. It would. It would make a pretty cool bedspread actually, if it were big enough. But it's not. It's not even. It's big enough for like a crib bedspread, a crib quilt, right? But I'd have to back it and everything, and it's not the best. Like, who would want? I don't think anybody would want this for their baby. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe somebody extremely autistic. I don't know. Even then, probably not. I don't know. Hey, Brody. What's up, buddy? Autistic people are getting angry. I said that. I don't know. I don't know. Labels like autistic get fucking thrown around all the time. And I've known a bunch of people who have told me that they were autistic, and there's only a couple. Like when I was working in schools, when I was working with kids, when I was teaching, like what we were told, were informed, like when a student had autism is very different than a lot of people who adults I see walking around saying, "Oh, I'm autistic, make accommodation for me." Like, what I had to deal with in the classroom. Oh my God. Oh my God. The screaming and the head banging, oh my God, the repetitive behavior, oh my God. Anyway, I don't want to talk about it. That's not what this is about. Anyway, so yeah, it's almost done. It's almost done. And what I mean by how do I know it's almost done? Because I had a stack of finite. I had a finite stack of fabric, specific fabric that I was using to make this yardage. So, down to strip pieces that go around the edge. But it's natural black and natural canvas. Were from jackets, and you know it's scrap from the Zodiacets and the last like two jackets that I made at the gallery, right? The Omar's jacket and the Murder in Santa Cruz jacket, right? It's yardage left over. It's all the scrap left over from that. Those and the Zodiacets. Now, the Zodiacet series, when I was working on those jackets, I had already broken down a lot of that material and used it to make binding. So like there were more large pieces left from the last couple jackets I made than from the Zodiacets. So I can't say it's like, oh, this is how much yardage you get if you use all the scrap from making 14 men's jackets. No, that's not accurate, because most of that was already broken down. So this is probably like I could say this is how much scrap you get from making 3 men's jackets or 4 men's jackets, right? Because I used a lot of the scrap to make binding. And I still have tons of that binding, right? It's binding that I still have that on hand. And I do that from time to time too. When I have a bunch of scrap fabric, I'll just make a ton of binding. Like when I have, if I have a bunch of Palencia or calico or whatever, I'll jelly roll and then make binding from the jelly roll. Yeah. And then I keep that on hand. So it's like a patchwork quilt topper, kind of, right? Like this piece I have, it's kind of like a patchwork quilt topper. I'd say like a crazy quilt because I have all these different, like rectangles and squares, right? Different sizes. They're all different sizes, and having to fit them. It's like playing Tetris, putting them together, sewing them together. Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes you tear a little bit off and, whatever, and then um, reposition it in the next row or layer or whatever. So yeah. Yeah, that's what I worked on all day yesterday. And I'm using my new machine. So just before I left Saratoga, I bought a machine in San Jose at Ray's Sewing Machines, and it's his signature machine. And I don't want to say I'm still getting used to the machine. I don't know if that's the case or not. I could probably stand to go do a little workshop with him and learn, just see more tricks with it, with all the features. But this is my biggest complaint about the machine, having used it now to make a bunch of different things, including this yardage. So you can't fill the bobbin. When you're filling the bobbin, it's like any other machine. You fill it on the top, and there's the little spindle that you put it on and snap it over to the right, and that's like the switch that turns off the presser foot, right, action, and winds that bobbin. Well, there's a stopper there that is for showing you how far the bobbin can be when the bobbin is filled, right? It's like, okay, once the thread gets to here, then it's full. Supposedly so you don't overfill the bobbin. Well, if you fill the bobbin all the way and you put it into the bobbin housing under the presser foot, right, and under the feed dog, it gets all like balled up, right? So the only way that it works consistently is if you fill the bobbin halfway. Well, oh my God, you're reloading your bobbins every fucking hour, So I went and picked up a few new bobbins, extra bobbins, right, to load them, and it's just like I have one bobbin, and the tension on the bobbin threader, right, is not always consistent. Ugh. And it doesn't thread it tight enough, and it gets all loopy, and you can't use it then, right? The bobbin has to be wound at a consistent tension, and it's not. And I don't know. The machine's just not really well made. It's real lightweight. When you're sitting there working at it, it twists. It's not heavy enough to just like sit on the tabletop. It's like too lightweight. It just, the thing that's crazy about it is it does stitch through a bazillion layers of fabric, right? So it's the whole housing, right? That is, so I'm not a fan of the machine, and nobody wants to fix my FOF. I love my FOF. And I love my National machine. 2 machines that don't get made anymore. And the National machine was bought by Singer, so Singer parts will fit the National machine, and it's like an old school metal machine. It's everybody's always excited to see that one. Like, oh, this is such a cool old machine, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, whatever. When I take that one in, that one doesn't go in very often because it's my backup machine, right? Like it's my fallback machine because it's like bare bones. It does like 5 stitches and that's it, But But my Pfaff, like, I love that machine. I love it. I love it, and it's so well made. It was made in the former Czech Republic. Uh-huh. That's, yeah. Yeah, so, and then those Pfaffs aren't made anymore, and you can't, it's hard to get parts for them, is what I've been told, and that's why nobody likes to work on it. Nobody likes to do the adjustment on it because it's hard to get parts for. Really hard. But I love that machine, so I don't know. The problem is each of the machines has the couple stitches that I use most frequently, right? They all have the straight stitch, they all have the stretch stitch, they all have blanket stitch, they all have overcast and the mending stitch, right? And but the oh, I'm gonna sneeze. Ugly sneeze face. Yeah. So the satin stitch or the zigzag stitch and the mending stitch, which is like a perforated looking zigzag stitch or satin stitch, they're not the same. They don't look the same. So it's like I can't go between machines, right? If I start using that stitch, if I'm using it like decoratively, right, as a as an aesthetic um, feature, right, as opposed to just purely utilitarian, which I do that with the mending stitch. I use the mending stitch along my seams. It's kind of like one of my things on my one of my details on my garments, right? That I use that. Um, the stitch doesn't match up, right? Because they're not. They're not. It's not like there's a standard size exactly, right? It's not like buying a 2x4, right? So I can tell looking at my jackets which machine I used by looking at that stitch, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah. So I didn't finish last night. I would have finished the yardage yesterday, but the machine is acting up. So I don't know. And it's not because I'm pushing or pulling the fabric through it. It's because the bobbin doesn't wind properly. So there's like a mess of balled up string down in my bobbin housing right now. Yeah. Yeah. So the yardage right now is probably about like 2.5 yards. 2.5 yards of probably like 42-inch wide. I'm gonna make it, I'll be able to make it a little bit wider. I'll probably get it up to like a 45-inch wide. So it'll be like a standard width, and about 2.5 yards, 2 3/4 yards, something like that. So that's a significant chunk of fabric, right? When you think about it. And you know, square footage wise, that isn't even all of the fabric scrap. I'd say, you know, probably like 1/6 of the fabric scrap that I processed because I tore everything that I could into um, regular quadrilaterals, right? So there are points and things that didn't that got broken down and went into the stuffing fluff that's going to go inside whatever I make, right? Because I'm using this particular yardage to make some sort of furniture bolster. You know, like I talked about Brody's bed over here, right? It's kind of smushed from him laying on it. It needs to be puffed up a bit. That thing is heavy. That thing weighs hit Brody's bed. That thing weighs over 100 pounds. Yeah. You don't really appreciate just how much textile waste you have, right? You don't think about it. you know? So like every couple years, well, every year, I've just gotten into the habit of like when Omar's t-shirts and socks are, worn out, or my socks and underwear and his all that stuff. Those things you just don't even think about. Um, I just process those. I set them aside. I wash them. Everything gets washed in hot water, and then I set them aside in a bag, and that's where I'm at right now. So I have all of these textiles that have been set aside, and I'm processing them. So, you know, I process at least once a year, sometimes multiple times, and every couple years I go through the house, and like I really need to go through again here. We did some over the winter holiday purging of textile. Um, but I need to do it again. I need to go through our towels and cleaning towels, because towels break down and they get down to a point where it's like, oh my gosh, this rag is unusable. This rag is in tatters. This rag is rags, right? Um, and so what do you do with it? Usually you just throw it away, right? I don't throw it away. I don't throw it away. I take those things, I break them down, and they become such items, right? Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of textile waste. A lot of textile waste. Yeah. So, I do this work for practical reason in our day-to-day life, but I'm doing this work as, raising awareness, these pieces I'm working on in the gallery, to raise awareness and highlight this textile waste, Yeah. And these things that you see everybody wearing all the time, everywhere, are like the worst things. The worst offenders, Jersey knit material. Since the inception of jersey knit material and mass textile manufacture, the pollution, right? The pollution and waste. And jersey knit, just like it's called, jersey knit, was made for the sports industry. Yeah. Yeah. And it's the worst fabric. It used to be, jersey knit, the tricot knit and stuff, all of it was flexible because of the way it was knit, right? By the nature of the knit, but it has become more stretchy and flexible because of synthetics, right? Original jersey knit was made out of silk or cotton. Um, and um, yeah, it's what allowed for us to have fitted panties, right? As opposed to the bloomers that women used to wear. Which I suppose has been helpful because, you know, for menstruation, I mean, it's a lot easier and functional to have a pad inside of fitted panties that is snug up against the body, than it is like stuff women used to have to do, right? So I guess there's that. But, the synthetics now, cotton t-shirts aren't 100% cotton. And um, with the when they recycle textiles, like when you see textile recycling plants and they're carting stuff, like they're not separating out the fibers, right? They're not separating, oh, this goes here, these go together here, those go together over here. So you might get something that's labeled cotton or wool or whatever, but it's not 100% wool. And this is something in the industry, like they're seeing lower quality in cashmere, right? Because it's not all cashmere. When they recycle cashmere, it's not all cashmere, right? Cashmere is fiber from a specific goat in cashmere. That's what makes cashmere cashmere. But, you know, it's not Angora, it's not alpaca. All of these things are lovely fibers, but they are not cashmere, right? Camel hair is not cashmere. Llama hair is not alpaca or cashmere. They're different fibers altogether. And so you see a lot of these recycled textiles coming out with labels on them, like that. And part of the reason um, fibers like alpaca specifically are sought after by people is because of allergies. So alpaca fiber is hypoallergenic, and but you can't even necessarily trust when a tag says that something is alpaca, that it is, right? It has to be virgin fiber, meaning fiber that is first and original use, right? Yeah. 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 Mm. Yes. Yes. This is what I'm working on right now. I was like, what else are you working on? I'm like, well, this is the only piece I'm working on right now. Are these textile pieces? And I have this belt I'm working on. Oh, yeah, I popped those billets out. They look really, really cool on the other side. Um, I don't know. Like, there's part of me that likes the billets just the way they are. I'm like, oh, just drill a hole in them and they'll be like Christmas ornaments next year for sale because they're kind of cool. Um, but I'm like, oh, but I didn't make them to be Christmas ornaments, and I don't know, you know. It seems like, but we'll see. I'll do a test with one of them, um, cutting into it and turning it, because my idea is for them to be belt buckles or a single belt, but I think belt buckles, right? Because I want to have as little plastic waste as possible, and they're cast into resin. So, the least amount of waste would be to turn them into Christmas ornaments, right? Um, but I have to sand the back because the back is kind of rough, um, and do some cutting if I want to turn it into a belt buckle. So I don't know. Once, like I said, I'll do a test cutting into and shaping one. And if that seems like, if I don't like the way it looks, or if it's hard, too difficult to work the material that way, and with the dust and everything that's going to produce, because I'm going to have to get dust masks to do this. I have to go get dust masks, and I have to get some 220 grit sandpaper, a bunch of it. Yeah. hmm Maybe some 180 grit. Probably have to start with 180 grit. Move down from there if I can even find any. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. I can sand the back so that they're smooth. But they're really cool looking. No more size. Like, oh, those are cool. The other thing, if I sanded all the backs on them, I could make them into stack of coasters. That's the other thing I could do. You know. So there's 6 of each. There's 6 chamomile and there's 6 rose petals. I'll choose which one I'm going to do a test on, and go from there. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. They might be cool. I have these ceramic letters that I got at a sometimes it's not just antique stores I go to. You go to salvage shops where they have, bulk of materials that are left over from somewhere, that are interesting or whatever. And so I got these bulk ceramic letters. It might be fun to like actually make some coasters with some words or whatever in them. Yeah. Or to do a larger piece. I don't know. Cast them. Anyway. Anyway. Yeah. I have a couple of these frames that I bought at such a place. Yeah, I got these frames. Where did I buy those frames? I bought those frames at Scrap in San Francisco. So there's a couple places I'm talking about like this: Scrap and East Bay Depot for creative reuse. That's a big long name. And then in the South Bay, there's Raft, but you have to be a teacher somewhere to get into Raft. Not you can't just go into Raft, right? But the other two places anybody can go into. And I've bought materials at all of these places. So I got these frames at Scrap, and they were like frames that probably had pictures in some lobby somewhere, and they probably redecorated and changed the frames out on the paintings or whatever artwork was in them. Um, so like they need to be greatly altered in order to be reused, right? Kind of thing. But I bought them because I'm like, oh, these might be helpful sometimes. Um, they're real big, so I might use that. That might be interesting. I used one for the very last piece that I did when we lived in Oakland. The very last art piece that I made in Oakland, which is down in our dart room, down in our basement. Yeah. Anyway. Things I'm thinking about today. Today, I'll probably just do laundry and sweep the floor and make a nice dinner. We went out to dinner last night. We had sushi. Sushi, yeah. One of my favorite restaurants here in Santa Cruz. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Because then when I'm there, there'll be street theater. There's a bunch of sushi places in Santa Cruz County. I just have to try them all until you find one you think that I'd like. Yeah, we had sushi last night. It was good. Yeah. Yeah, they have these little they're like glasses, right? Um, and I suppose like if you finish the whole glass, you could start collecting them, right? Kind of thing. But I like it because it's like half of a small bottle of sake, right? When you get a bottle of sake at a restaurant, it's like that's a lot of sake, And I have trouble. I don't always want to like drink a whole bottle of sake, right? And some places don't let you take it with you, whatever. So like this place is cool because they don't have a huge selection of sake, right? Like, um, and the stuff sake that they have is like, mid grade, whatever. But it comes in a glass, and it's like you open that up and it has a little lid or whatever. It's like half a bottle, which is nice. Yeah, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that is. Mm, yeah, I need to call and find out if I need to report on Monday for jury duty. Yuck. I postponed my jury duty from last year or from last month. Like you're supposed to do it every like 12 months or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I feel like I get called all the time. They never pick me. Never. 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 And only like twice have I ever even gotten to the questioning round where you get up and they ask you questions. Do you know the defendant? Do you know the plaintiff? Do you know anybody in this room? Blah, 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 blah. So where do you know them from? Do you have any association with this, with that? What do you think about blah, blah, blah? What's up, sir? What do you have to say for yourself? What? What? I will get up. It is Sunday morning. It is Sunday morning. Oh, fine. Turns his back on me when he knows that that I'm right. It's like, whatever, okay. Sunday morning, praise the dawning. It's just a restless feeling by my side. Early morning, Sunday morning. Watch out, the world's behind you. There's always someone around you who will call. It's nothing at all. Sunday morning. Sunday morning. Oh, I listened to Belle and Sebastian yesterday. That was Velvet Underground, but I listened to Belle and Sebastian. I love that album. If you're feeling sinister, I love it. Judy and Her Dream of Horses. Love that song. Last song on the album. So good. Yeah. I love that album. Ooh, get me away from here, I'm dying. Play me a song to set me free. Nobody writes them like they used to, so it may as well be me. Here on my own now after hours. Here on my own now on a bus. Think of it this way, you could either be successful or be us. With our winning smiles and our hearts, with our catchy tunes and words. Now you're photogenic, you know, we don't stand a chance. Ooh, I'll settle down with some old story about a boy who's just like me. Thought there was love in everything and everyone. You're so naive. Except when I sing it, I say a girl was just like me. Yeah. They always reach a sorry ending. They always get it in the end. Still it was worth it as I turned the pages solemnly, and then with a winning smile the poor boy with naivety succeeds. At the final moment I cried. I always cry at endings. Such a good song. The whole album's good. Ooh. Fox in the Snow. Oh, love that song. Fox in the snow, where do you go to find something you can eat? 'Cause the word out on the street is you are starving. Let yourself go hungry now. Don't let yourself grow cold. Fox in the snow. What do they know anyway? Read it in a book. What do they know anyway? Yeah. When your knees are black and blue. Yeah. Fox in the Snow. Good song. Yeah. Love that album. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Yeah, so did I. Clean up around the house. Look at my to-do list and see what I can cross off that I've finished in the past couple days. Maybe do some editing in my writing. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I've been saying all week I'm gonna make that spaghetti squash and I haven't, so I'll make that spaghetti squash today. I think I will. I think I'll make that spaghetti squash today. Yeah, I think it's a while. I don't know. Maybe. Anyway. Anyway. Yeah, I'm not talking about the news. There's enough people talking about it. There's enough people talking about it. I'm not talking about the news. Whatever. Yeah. Anyway. Anyway.